Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, no matter where you are in the world. I'm glad you're here listening to the podcast. We've got a great guest today. He's a shop here in the Carolinas, and I think you'll enjoy what they have got going on. They're going gangbusters over there. So let me get him on here and tell us his story. All right. So let's go. Hey, how are you, Cody? Doing good?
Good, good. How about you?
Good, man. So hey, I'm glad you're on here. You're going to be one of our first shops that are on this podcast. So hopefully it goes viral, right? But
Yeah, we'll see
um
about that.
so I know you've been busy, so I really do appreciate your time. I know you guys have got a lot going on, but introduce yourself and tell us how you got into manufacturing and fabrication, and let's go from there.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Cody Dellinger. I'm, as you probably can tell, fairly young, I guess, for the fabrication industry. I was I kind of grew up around this throughout growing up, high school. My father started this business that was essentially kind of a one-man welding shop in 1988. Over the years, it's expanded, it's grown. I've got interested in it working there over high school, doing the I guess you could call it probably grunt labor jobs, but that's how I learned. And then went to college at NC State, got a degree in engineering technology, graphic design. So
Nice.
I get to do a lot of 3D modeling with SolidWorks and that type of stuff. And came on full time in 2018, and now it's I think we turned the afterburners on and strapped in for the ride.
Yeah, I know. You guys have so you guys were named Eddie's Welding before, and now it's tell us about that.
Yep.
How,
So we started as Eddie's Welding, which Eddie is still the owner, my father, and that was a tough change to kind of bring about. And it was me that pushed it, but we would get these constant things of where people would show up and kind of leave the comments. Oh, we thought you were going to be kind of like a backyard welding shop.
mm,
So after enough of that, we finally looked at changing over to EWI manufacturing and fabrication. Uh, Essentially took Eddie's Welding Incorporated, shortened it up, turned it into EWI, and now it kind of puts us into a bigger field, I guess you could say.
yep, yep. And from there, you guys you guys started Catawba Attachments, and so what inspired you guys to open Catawba Attachments? And
Yeah, so Catawba it's the same business. It's a DBA. It's basically our brand of our product line for farm equipment.
okay,
And over all these years of welding, we repaired farm equipment and we built a lot for like local dealers, um, and became pretty familiar with it. So we wanted to put some kind of name on it, and Catawba being like near the Catawba River, Catawba County area, even though we're not in actual Catawba County, but
hmm,
the river kind of plays like a big part of the area. So we came up with that name. And then pretty much branded our equipment that. And then at first, we really didn't push it. We put our stickers on it. We'd sell it locally. We just try to build heavy duty stuff that was going to last. And last year, actually, we made the jump to actually build an e-commerce site and start trying to push this stuff all over the country.
yeah, it looks good. I was just on there looking at all the different attachments you guys are making.
Yeah,
Website looks really good.
it has taken off way more than we ever could have imagined. Um, I mean, we've got all the equipment to build the stuff. It's just, I just don't think we realized how big it actually can be.
Yeah, yeah. That yeah, because yeah, everybody goes on that farming is not a really big industry anymore, but I don't know. You guys seem to be going gangbusters on the Catawba Attachments over there.
Yeah, it's. I think it's bigger than we realized. I mean, I guess if you kind of account for the fact that there's a lot of, I mean, even homeowners are getting into like the smaller tractors nowadays to do yard work,
Yeah,
uh, and all over the country, and you just start factoring that in, you get a lot of people calling. We even get a lot of orders where people don't call. We've kind of built up trust by doing videos and getting the reviews in, and we have a lot of orders come in that never talk to the people. We'll send it halfway across the country, and they get it and they're happy.
uh, what was the first project you guys made for that business there?
As far as like kind of
Uh,
like,
as Catawba Attachments. What was the first product you made to
well, we we built like, I guess, probably our kind of first designs or whatever were like your standard stuff would be like your box blades and pulverizers that are just pretty much standard for all tractors. And then,
yeah,
but with the website launch, we actually designed our grapples, which we're actually building them from hard ox material, and they are just insanely tough. And that was probably the kind of like the fresh, I guess you could call, flagship item that we launched with the website. And this by far something that we just have to keep building over and over and over, with multiple guys welding them and our lasers running wide open, cutting the hard ox material. So they've
yeah,
been a good product.
yeah, yeah. Um, so day-to-day operations at EDI, yeah, I know you guys. Every time I've gone down there in the past, we probably met over, I don't know, I think 3 years ago now, maybe. Um,
Yeah, I
probably
think
probably
you
before
showed
that,
up.
actually.
Yeah, I know. I remember. I think you originally showed up when you
Uh,
were
trying to
repping.
sell you Radan software
Yeah,
back in
that's
the
what it
earlier
was.
days, I think. I think
Yep.
that's when I was talking to Rob Collins back then, and yeah, I ended up working for him, and yeah, it's hard to believe, man. 4 years is, I'm going into 4 years now. It goes pretty quick.
It does.
It's amazing, man. But so what kind of work does the rest of your shop do? You specialize in custom fabrication, production runs, prototyping. I know. I've seen a couple of truck beds with Eddie's Welding on the back of them running around North Carolina here. Um,
Yep. So we do. I mean, there's a bunch of we got truck beds. We do a bunch of custom fabrication. We get into stuff that sometimes we don't want to do, but
yeah,
sometimes people won't take no for an answer. Uh, we also do a lot of, I guess you could say, contract manufacturing, where we cut, bend, and ship a lot of parts for different larger companies that don't have either the means of producing it or the capacity. So, with our lasers and our press brakes, we can produce quite a bit. And, now it's trying to figure out how to produce more on the machines that we have. So we're trying
yeah,
to really streamline things.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that is going to be the tricky part, is trying to streamline it, maybe do it in cells or section, right? Um, yeah, there's so many ways to tackle that part of it. But what materials are you processing? I know I've seen a video. I think you put on the Catawba Attachment site, because I know everybody's screaming about tariffs on material and stuff like that. That's going on. I see you guys have got plenty stocked up in the back of the shop there, and
Oh yeah,
um,
yeah. We I know we just bought a truckload of hard ox. And then we actually switched everything over from A36 to grade 50.
Okay.
Uh, so I think everything 3/16 and up is all grade 50 still.
Okay.
When it comes to 11 gauge and under, it doesn't necessarily matter because it's not really structural. But we do stock a lot. I know we try to stay ahead of, well, for one, the tariffs freaking everybody out, and two, having that material on hand just goes a long way. So, I mean, we're probably processing, geez, I don't know. I know we probably order at least 5 to 10,000 pounds of 3/8 and quarter at least every week and a half.
Dang.
Um,
That's a lot of material.
yeah, we're just busting at the seams with material right now. And of
Yeah.
course, with having that much material, you got to have a place to put it. So one of the things I did was trying to get more organized. So I built. I'm sure you've seen the big sheet metal racks. I think is what they're
Yeah.
called.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
we built our own racks, put them back there, and I think gives us like 36 slots of storage, each at 5,000 pounds apiece. So we can put a lot of material in those racks.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, that's now. I what types of equipment do you rely on daily? I know lasers, stuff like that. Did you guys have a plasma cutter? I thought you had a plasma cutter at one stage.
We do have a plasma cutter. We
Yeah.
have an Ultra, and actually, we're actually trying to sell it right now, just because we maybe use it. It probably sees some action once every month.
Yeah.
Uh, Majority of the stuff is going to run through the lasers, just because it's cleaner cut, quicker.
Yeah.
It's the plasma is just not suited for the type of stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
But we do have it for, like, it's a 6x14 table, so when we get bigger items that we can't put on our 5x10 lasers, it's going to hop over to the plasma.
Okay. Okay. And then I know you guys. So you guys have got the two Mitsubishi lasers, and then you got the Trump tube laser. How's that going for you? You still doing a lot of tube
Oh
on
yeah,
there?
yeah. So yeah, we've got the two mitts, 6K fibers, both the GXF machines, which are phenomenal. And we'll stay with those because they're just super easy to use and they've been great, no issues for the most
Yeah.
part. And then the Trump tube laser, which has also been it's been an awesome machine. It's changed the way that you design things. So like
Yeah.
where before you would cut a bunch of stuff on a saw, now you can actually tab it into your sheet metal parts. You can load bundles of material in and just let it run through them. It's been a really, really good machine.
Yeah.
Um, and two, I mean, yeah, we're getting a lot of outside like contract manufacturing parts on it, but also all of our farm equipment stuff we've redesigned to go onto the tube laser. Um, it's kind of changed the way that somebody builds things now. We don't have to measure it out. We've got tabs and slots and tubes where it all kind of fits together like a jigsaw puzzle and takes the user error out of it. So it's cool. You can do
Yeah.
a lot with it. I'm sure too. We also probably just kind of scratch the surface on what's actually doable. I mean, we've got some where we actually notch out the tubing and bend it over so you don't have to weld the outside corners,
Yeah.
which works really well for like your school furniture, that type of industry.
Yeah.
Um, it's fun. That machine gets me excited.
That so are you bringing in a whole assembly and just bring a whole assembly of parts in and just throw it into the software and it organizes it from there, or
Yeah, so actually their software, and this is one of the things that kind of sold me on the machine. It's integrated. It's essentially like SolidWorks. So if you're
yeah.
familiar with SolidWorks, you would pick up the Trump software pretty easy. But you basically can take like a full assembly model, drop it into the Trump software. You'll have to go through and basically identify your profiles, and then it takes it and it'll actually split them up and nest them accordingly. So it's really, I mean, they've made the programming side of it very, very, very easy compared
Yeah.
to what I'm sure it was, 10 years ago.
Yeah. Because are you still doing a lot of the programming on as
Um,
well? Or are you trying to transition that to somebody else?
we've actually got we got another guy that works for us. His name's Adam, who also
Mm.
went to NC State. So, we're building up some NC State grads. But he's
Nice.
taken over the tube laser nesting.
Okay.
He actually came in and started running it for a while and then transitioned into pretty much handling everything tube laser. So I still know how to do it. If I need to, if for some reason he's out sick or something happens, I can jump right in and,
Yeah.
operate the machine, keep us going, but I don't have to do it like I used to.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you integrated any automation or robotics in yet into your workflow or thought about that? Or
We have not yet. With the way robotics have kind of progressed over the past, I mean, really the past 3 to 4 years, I guess you would say. I think we're kind of eyeing doing that pretty soon, like with the cobots, where it's like the welding
yeah,
cobots, where it's really easy to drag and kind of teach them.
yeah,
Um, we'll probably progress to getting some of those in, I'd say, the next 2 years, most likely, maybe sooner. It just kind of depends on how things play out.
yeah, yeah,
Because especially with all the repeat stuff that we're doing, it makes sense to get to that side of things.
yeah.
Um,
Because now you're building your own product as well now, so you
yeah, so
know,
we're not all over the place, kind of like we were in the past. Now we actually have, we have the same things going through on a lot of our guys. And, if you can add a robot in and have somebody tacking parts and feed it to the robot, then that's how you produce more and stay
yeah,
ahead of the game.
yeah. So because now that you're building your own product, you are you stocking some of the you're building some sub assemblies and stocking them
Yeah, so
with
we'll actually, the way we do it on some of the stuff, we've actually got jigs where some guys will tack, like for our grapples, for example, we have
yeah,
a guy that tacks them and feeds them to a welder, for like the bottom part of it, and then another person may be tacking the lid and feeding it to another welder. So it's trying to create kind of like assembly lines for the most part. And then on other attachments where they may have certain sub assemblies in, we'll have a guy set up and build all of those sub assemblies. And then
mm,
it'll go to another person that's welding out the full assembly, and it speeds things up, because if you're doing 100 of one thing, you're going to get faster at it as you do them versus somebody welding up one full assembly all at once and having to go to the next
yeah,
one. Just trying to streamline it, kind of, well, I mean, like the auto industry and stuff, where they've got, these massive assembly lines. If you think like that within the fabrication realm of things, like, you can get better, especially
yeah.
for, small shops. You gotta really try to improve where you can on speed and stay ahead of things, or else you'll fall behind.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any tools or machines you couldn't live without?
Oh well, now I'd say the tube laser for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
We don't use our saws very often. I mean, we still have them, of course, for you get bigger beams and stuff that we can't run through the tube laser, but we've become pretty dependent on it. And I mean, honestly, I'd be curious to see. I could almost say, like, you could put me up against Eddie, where we had to take let's say, a piece of pipe, for example, and have three different holes drilled in it. I'm pretty sure I could be just as fast, if not faster, at getting it into the tube laser, cut, and good to
yeah.
go by the time he got one cut and drilled. So that one's definitely essential. I mean,
But
really
but
everything.
but you'll still keep the saw because there's going to be times when you're going to need something just to do a one off or
Oh yeah, well, there's also, I mean, we have to deal with some bigger beams and stuff that you got to have the saw to cut. So I mean, the
Okay.
stall is still. I mean, it's something that's never going to phase out, just because
Yeah.
you have to have it. And I mean, of course, it really goes for all the machines. The two sheet lasers and the press brakes. With everything we're doing, it would be impossible to do it without them now, with the
Yeah.
way we've got things designed.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you got the big heavy ton Cincinnati press brake there,
Yep,
and
350-ton Cincinnati.
yeah,
Um,
and then you just said we were talking earlier today, and you get another Cincinnati, and yeah.
yep, we've got an 8 foot 90-ton Cincinnati on order,
Okay.
and then we've also got our 240-ton Adira, which was a pre-MC Machinery
Oh,
Adira,
you
but
still got that Adira?
yep, and
Okay.
we're actually running it pretty much wide open. Both presses have been pretty much going full steam ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are you running American tooling or European on the press brake?
So Cincinnati, we're running the American tooling. The
Okay.
Adira is European.
Yeah,
Um,
but if you wanted to, you could flip it around
you
and run the
you can
American.
flip it, and I
Yeah.
have done that on a few things, but we have a pretty good, I guess, arsenal of European tooling that we can put over there. So
Yeah.
it pretty much does what we need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. Um, what about, you know, shop culture and your team? Is it difficult finding people for the shop now? Are you, or is it just on the teeter totter of
Um,
difficulty?
well, I'm sure as everybody probably remembers during COVID, it was like finding people was impossible.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think that's kind of flipped now. We've not had any issues finding welders. Uh, Welders have been fairly easy to find. Machine operators, not so much.
mhm,
It seems like most people don't want to operate a machine. They want to either weld or they want to weld typically. Uh, Same thing goes with like the press brake operators. I think that's kind of like a dying breed almost.
yeah,
They're really hard to find. So most of the time, you got to try to get somebody in and train them or actually teach them how to run the press, which is just a whole different battle at hand because that's not an easy thing to do.
yeah,
But we did, we made the change. I think it's been 2 years now. We switched to a 4-day work week.
yeah,
So we switch, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 4:30, and then Friday's our overtime day, which is actually why I'm at home right now. We leave at noon,
yeah.
and then we'll have a few guys come in and work because they want extra hours, and we always have work to do, so it's fine. But that helped a lot too. I think everybody looks forward to having an extra day on the weekend.
No, I, I, I think when I used to be welding, I enjoyed just doing the 410s and heading to the beach
Yeah.
for the weekend, and then come. I used to work night shift back then, so I, as long as I left the beach at about 10 o'clock and got back to the house, right, to go back to
Yeah,
work.
it's not bad. It's a good. I think it's a good system so far. We were concerned because, when you go your whole life and do Monday through Friday,
Yeah,
it's a big change. Plus, it's a big change to all the customers that are used to it. But I mean, we said, why not? Let's try it, see what happens, and went for it, and it's worked.
yeah, yeah.
And I think
Uh,
everybody's kind of adjusted to it now too. So all of our customers are pretty much aware that, we're not open after noon on Fridays.
so, how big is your team, and what's the dynamic like in the shop? So, how many guys?
Um, right now, I think we have 32 guys.
Oh,
Uh,
that's quite a few, man.
yeah, we jumped up. I mean, I think we were tutoring at like 24 or 25, a year and a half ago. And then
Hmm.
once Catawba started, we've jumped up quite a bit. And we probably need to add, a person or 32 on at the moment, but I think 32 is about where we're sitting at, and we've actually got a really good crew for the most part. Everybody's, trying to really push the team, mindset. Like if you guys kind of invest in this and help us grow, you're going to grow it with us. So we try to be very competitive on pay and, you know, make everybody feel important because every job is important. Like the
Yeah.
guy who wipes down and cleans the equipment is just important as, the other guy who's welding this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Same thing for the guys that are assembling. They're just as important as our welders because they're the last people that see and put their hands on the equipment before it goes out to the customer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely building that team mindset that really is critical for success because, I mean, nobody wants to be part of something where you're just a number or just another, they're another cog in the machine type thing. You want to
Nah,
want to feel like you're part of something bigger.
yeah, yeah. You want people to take a ownership in it, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
I think that's how you be successful in any company. Because so it's like skills and attitude you're looking for when you're hiring. I mean, that tends to have a lot more to do with how many years you've been working, or if you're new, or right. Um,
Yeah, I think everybody focuses on, resume so much and people forget to focus on, well, for like your personable skills, how you communicate with people, and then just like I guess your drive to succeed. Um,
mm,
I try to tell people, especially like the younger generation, you know, if you go in and you're cleaning the toilet, you better be the best. Treat it as I'm going to be the best person who's ever done this, because I know like we pay attention to that stuff. I see that stuff. And I kind of take it back to like I worked at Auto Bell through college,
yeah,
and I worked with I was, a bunch of high schoolers worked there, and then a few guys from college. And a simple thing like our manager asked us to jog in between cars, and most of the guys would not do it. And I mean, I'm like, I got asked to do that. I'm gonna do it, and it pretty much worked out to where I got to work when I wanted to, hours wise, and I was always out front. And just the hard work ethic goes further than people realize.
it does, man. I remember when I started out, I used to have to. So I'm always early. People probably hate me for it a lot, especially my wife and kids. Um, but I used to go in the shop early every day, and I was the first one there. They ended up giving me the key so I could open the doors. Otherwise, I'd be sitting outside waiting. But I made the cups of tea, got tea ready every day, every morning. Then I'd come and do the dishes at break time, and I was the shop helper. But then I got my break eventually, and ended up being a certified welder. Right?
Yeah, and I mean that's
Um,
kind of like I think that's how you progress. I mean, a lot of times that goes a longer ways than somebody that may have the skills but just doesn't necessarily put their best foot forward to
hmm
get there.
Yeah, yeah. How do you keep the morale high during busy times, stressful times? Because I know it's it's not always butterflies and rainbows in shops,
Oh no,
right?
no, it's not. Um, there's definitely repetitive Mondays, I guess you could say. Um, we I don't know. We try to do things here and there. Like the other day, we had a church come in and drop off a fundraiser for barbecue plates. So we went ahead and ordered plates for everybody in the shop and fed everybody at lunch. And small things like that we'll try to do every once in a while,
Yeah.
especially if the opportunity kind of walks in the door like that to just boost the morale and keep guys smiling.
hmm
Normally each year we try to do like a summer party where we'll invite everybody over and their families, feed them, just hang out and have a good time. Same thing for Christmas, and then try to do a big Thanksgiving get together. Just stuff to kind of build some team morale, and make everybody feel like they're part of something. Because I try to tell all the guys all the time that, hey, without you guys, we don't exist.
Yeah.
So, you can't like I know how to run the machines. I know kind of how to weld. I can weld, but I wouldn't want me to be the one welding things. Um, but I can't
That'd
do
be
it
your
all.
dad. Your dad would have to come out of the office then, right?
Well, no, he needs to go in the office. He actually is out on
Oh,
the
he's
floor.
always out there.
He is out on the floor all the time, and he prefers to be out there. So
Yeah,
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 he
yeah, yeah,
works circles. He works circles around a lot of people.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he'll never retire. He'll be I, shoot, he'll probably be up there when he's 70 in a rocking chair, still saying, "Hey, you need to do this and that." And
Yeah, yeah,
but he loves it, and pretty much all of us. I think we all have fun with it. I know. You know, I don't. I don't look at work as boring or anything like that. Like I go in and we all joke around, and next thing you know, the day's over, and you're like, "Holy crap! How did that happen?"
mhm, mhm. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Uh, uh, well, challenges in the industry that you're seeing. What are some of the biggest challenges in fabrication shops you're facing today?
I know one we struggle with, and this is more software oriented, but like your job tracking. And I talked to other
Yeah,
shops too. It seems to be like one of those repetitive things that you hear is just nobody's found the kind of solution that works for them. And I mean, we're in the same boat. We haven't really figured out what will actually work for us yet.
yeah, yeah. There's
It's
different software out there. There's probably a few. I mean, maybe 10, maybe that are catered to big type stuff, but
Yeah,
um,
there's stuff for like, you see the stuff for the big structural guys or there's some stuff geared to like machine shops, but when you get into like a job shop, I guess is how we kind of classify ourselves,
yeah,
which, we may be transitioning a little bit more to production stuff, but there's just not anything super geared to job shops that
yeah,
we've found. We've looked at some, and I know there's some on my radar that I want to look into, but no clue if they're going to be what we need.
yeah, 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 yeah. Um, no, it's that. Have you had to deal with supply chain issues or well, material shortages recently? But you've got that handled. So
Yeah, I mean, we most stuff we've been able to find. We've had a few issues with like some oddball. Well, I wouldn't say oddball, but like 1 inch Schedule 40 bare pipe for some
yeah,
reason could. It might have been Schedule 80 actually. 1 inch Schedule 80 bare pipe. Couldn't find it.
yeah,
It. But your normal suppliers like we use O'Neill Steel, Ryerson,
yeah,
the local guys, Benco out of Hickory,
yeah, yeah. I know Benko.
uh, Klockner, checked all of them, and finally found it with I think it's EMJ out of Charlotte. They happen to have it, which we'd never, it was the first time we used them, the first time it worked out. But outside of that, everything's been pretty much available. Now, of course, the prices have went up, but I think they're starting to level back out. And we try to kind of stay ahead of our needs too, so that helps.
Hmm.
But
Um,
I don't think we're gonna have too many major issues with material shortage, hopefully.
I don't think so. I think look that in the recent news, they're talking about mainly stainless and aluminum, right? Coming in from
Yeah.
overseas.
Yep.
Um, but now e- because you dealing with the hard ox material and black steel and whatnot, are you guys just painting, powder coating that? Or
We paint it. We do send some stuff and get powder coated,
okay,
but we sub that out because it makes sense to send this to a powder coater that has a line rather than us try to handle it ourselves.
yeah,
Um, So most of the stuff like our farm equipment, we paint anything like stairs, handrail, depending on how big it is. If handrail, a lot of times we'll send off to a powder coater and get powder coated just because, longevity of it being outside. Um, but that kind of covers our area stuff. And we do also deal with a little bit of aluminum. Like we'll
Yeah.
cut some aluminum parts. Not a ton because it is hard to kind of make sure you don't contaminate material and separate it, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
when you get into having to have nice stainless pieces that can't get contaminated. It's just it's tough. You almost need a whole separate area just for that material.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so how do you balance pricing competitively while still turning a profit? I know. I mean, yeah, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to. Um, but I know there's not too many competitors in the attachment. Really,
No,
any?
the attachments is, well, for one, I mean, also, we look and see what other competitors are obviously selling this stuff
Yeah.
at. But there's not a ton in kind of the route that we took. We took the user direct route rather than going to dealers.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I see what. Yeah.
So like everything that we're doing, we're actually, we offer free shipping to like a SD shipping terminal within 1,000 miles of our location, and then on our
Yeah.
grapples, we actually ship uh, pretty much everything east of the Rockies for free. Which
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
factor a little bit of that into our prices, but when you go kind of compare to other competitors, we're still just as good, if not better. And a lot of that has gotten or came from, kind of streamlining the manufacturing process,
Hmm.
like having the jigs so we're able to produce these quicker, faster,
A,
and
a
keep the
quick
cost
turnaround.
down. Yep.
Yeah.
And then of course, I've found some solutions like the hard ox, for example. We use quarter, 3/8, and half, but a ton of quarter inch. Well, where quarter-inch plate is, I think it's $1.25, $1.28, something like that right now, a
Hmm.
pound. They have a sheet version, which is closer to $1 a pound. So, we're utilizing that, which is saving, you're saving 25 cents a pound right there on material, which adds up big time.
Yeah.
Same properties. The only difference is, I guess, how they produce it is it's just a different process.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have the red coating on it, which I actually prefer because the lasers like it better. It's easier to weld. It works out very well for what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you exporting some of this stuff out of the US at all, or plans on doing that?
We're actually looking, which the trade mess is not helping the
No.
situation, but we've got somebody actually wanting to buy one of our grapples to go to Canada. So we're going through the process of getting, our importer numbers and all of that set up. So hopefully we'll be able to ship to Canada pretty soon. Um, and then outside of that, I don't know where it could go. I know the farm industry, in Europe is bigger than it is here in the US or in
Yeah.
North
Yeah.
America. So there is a massive industry for it over there, but I don't know if we'll get into that or not. We do bring some stuff in that like we don't build,
Hmm.
like some of your tillers and mowers and the type of stuff that pretty much most of them come from Italy. There may be some other countries there that stuff comes out of, but yeah, there's a lot that goes into like a mower that we just couldn't compete with. Where I guess in Italy they have it down. I don't know if it's different processes or what it is, but it works out.
Mm.
Which of course we'll see how tariffs play into that, but So far, not anything to be super worried about.
Um, uh, Custom work and unique projects, right? I know you guys have probably come across some interesting stuff. What's the most complex or interesting job your shop has taken on over the last few years?
Um, Geez. So we've done a few. Well, I mean, we've done more than a few actually, but there's a couple that stick out in my mind. One was a very large, I guess you could call it a massive stainless steel dipping tank.
Hmm.
The whole thing was built out of stainless steel. It was probably 45-foot long and about 15, 14 feet tall, somewhere around there.
Dang.
Um, we had to build it in the shop and get it out of there, load it on a low boy and get it out of there. And there was a lot of welding on it, obviously a lot of cleaning the welds. It was a neat project. And then recently, we actually had a set of helical staircases,
Yeah.
um, which it's one of those things that we managed to draw out, which we have a really good software designer who was able to do it. That was not me. I don't know if I could have figured it out. Maybe if I sat down and put my mind to it, but it would have taken some. I would have pulled my hair out and maybe
Yeah.
went gray in the process. But he was able to figure out the design in SolidWorks, which allowed us to cut a flat pattern out of 3/16 plate, and then we were able to take this plate and roll it through our rollers in a basically a helical form and start building these things.
Nice.
We had drawings with dimensions, but it's kind of one of those things where you get your start point and your stop point, out on the floor, and your start point up here in the air, and you just start building them and make them land where they need to land. So it's what we started doing, and we boxed in the sheet metal and made tubing out of it. And after we're all said and done, we've got two mirror images of helical steps that are at a wedding venue now here in Huntersville, North Carolina.
Hmm. Man, that's good. And you didn't scrap any of it either. You be
No, I think we had a few pieces of the handrail that we had to. It took rolling a few of those to get it right,
yeah.
because it's kind of like an art almost.
Yeah.
It's
I
hard to
think
do.
I think a lot of people I've seen it. Some people think doing handrails, okay, just put it in this one machine and it's going to come out right and perfect the first time every time. But
Yeah, there's
not
there's an
from what
art
I've
to it.
seen. Not from what I've seen. It takes a little bit of finagling sometimes and tweaking every time.
Yeah, it was one of those projects where we said we could do it, um, really thinking that they probably would say no after we priced it, and
Yeah.
they jumped on it, and we had to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also get into like our custom handrail jobs where we had one recently. We had to go to the mountains and send guys up there for over a week to install this and build it all on site because they wanted pickets drilling directly into the wood and
Oh,
had a
yeah, yeah,
fancy top cap. And you're dealing with these really nice fancy houses. You got to be really careful and professional about how you handle things, because if you mess something up, it's a lot of money.
yeah, yeah. And that's someone's house. I used to do that in New Zealand when I was younger. We used to do a lot of handrails and gates. And I used to like going to all the old ladies used to give you a cup of tea and some cookies, right? And I was like, man, this is an awesome job, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's not too bad. Now it seems like they just keep getting fancier, and some
Yeah,
people want some stuff that definitely is challenging.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do do you prefer high production or one-off custom jobs, and why?
I prefer the production work,
Yeah,
just for the fact that you can put processes in place. So like you can kind of get a system down to how you're going to produce this stuff versus the custom jobs. You really, for one, you got to have the skilled people that can do it.
Hmm.
Uh, and two, sometimes you just really don't know what you're getting into. I mean, you could get into situations where, you may price something and have a week factored in, and then it take 2 weeks. So I think there's just a lot more control to the actual production side of things versus the custom. Now, some of the custom stuff is good, and it's a nice change up because you don't kind of burn yourself out on the same thing over and over and over. But as far as like scaling a business, I think the production part is the way to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and have you worked with any industries that have surprised you?
Um, hmm. As far as surprise, I guess, what do you mean by
Like,
that?
just you're like, you get in, you do work in an industry, and you're like, man, I'm surprised that they do that, or we're making this kind of thing. Um, you know,
Hmm.
like, uh,
Um.
like one day I was welding little caps on the end of a baffle to go on um a firearm, right?
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I go from making hydraulic tanks to building this thing in the shop, you know?
Uh, Yeah. No. No. That makes sense. I don't know. We do get into some, I guess, custom things that will catch you off guard. I'm trying to blink on as to
Yeah,
what now,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I
No,
mean, it goes from you don't realize how much metal plays into everything from the furniture industry to construction to um, like scientific
mm,
furniture and scientific, I guess, like university type stuff, um, to where it even deals with, simple things like shrouds on light fixtures and that type of stuff. So there's so much that metal plays into that if you're not really looking for it, you don't recognize it at first.
yeah. Yeah, because it's quite interesting when people ask you what you do or something, and you tell them, and say, well, just think anybody who makes this, there's sheet metal in there, right?
Yeah,
And
I mean,
and
there's
they're still
just
trying
sheet
to
metal and
figure it out.
everything.
They're still trying to figure it out. Be like, what? You make the TV? No, no. But the sheet metal components are being stamped out, or there's stuff being welded or laser cut, stuff like that. You know.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. We actually there is one we do some work for a company, and they actually they deal with aluminum, but they make Christmas lighting, and
hmm,
it's not something that really would come to mind when you think sheet metal, but there's a lot of aluminum parts that come into like these figurines that are cut out or stars or I mean really anything. I know a few years ago we made I think 100 bows out of like I think it was quarter-inch aluminum rod that had to be bent around, and it's kind of like it was more like an art. None were the
yeah.
exact same, so they're all a little bit different. And then they would get these and they would powder coat them and wrap lights around them, and it may go to some town somewhere halfway across the country here, uh, and they get put up on light poles. So it's that one kind of did surprise me. We've done quite a bit for them where, well, recently they had a big light. I don't even know what to call it. Just basically this massive thing that said Aloha, and then a big tree that was all lit up that went to Hawaii, and we got to make the bench that went around the tree. So
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's pretty cool stuff kind of when you get to see the final product. Like it doesn't look like a lot at first, and then when you actually get pictures of what it turned out like, it's pretty cool. It's rewarding.
I know, I know. My wife and my kids, they always tell me that we go past. I see a waterfall that I worked on years ago when I was probably 18 years old, and I see the lights light up. They light it up every Christmas, right? And I'm like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I did that. I worked on that." And my wife and kids are like, "Every time we know."
That sounds like my father. He points out a lot of stuff. He's like, "Yeah, we did that,"
Yeah, yeah.
which is cool. It is, it is rewarding to look back and like, yeah, we actually built those. Like
yeah,
same thing with this helical steps at the wedding venue. I'm like, I need to make it out there in person just because they look the finished product looks really 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 good,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it'll be in people's wedding pictures.
Uh,
So
yeah, and all over the place, you know.
oh yeah, yeah, it's
Um,
just wild what you can actually do and what products are actually out there with metal.
yeah, yeah. Uh, so looking ahead, what's your vision for the future of your shop?
Um, so I mean, I think just kind of looking at the trends that we've been seeing with the Catawba attachment side of things, we are set to grow a significant amount more. So we grew last year because of it. Uh, we should be growing again this year. I mean, we're on track. We're well ahead. So I'm
That's good.
expecting quite a bit of growth from this to the point where I think we're going to have to build another building. We're going to have to probably bring on some more welders. And I'm assuming we're probably going to be adding more machines. I think a new laser is probably going to be in the talks before too long, just
Hmm.
because between Catawba and EWI, there's so much to process through that you start to hit capacity at some point. Even with getting more streamlined, you still just only so much you can do.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Man, where would you put the other building?
So I know it's been a while since been down to the shop, but
You'd have to go on the other end.
there's a lot beside us that kind of runs to a point that we can buy,
Okay.
um, and we should be able to put a building on it and probably just combine everything into the current building because we actually have our old building. So we're in
Yeah.
two shops right now. We'd probably move out of the old shop and move everything into the two new buildings and sell the old shop.
Okay. Okay.
But we try to plan ahead, maybe build a little bit bigger than what we're in now. And, if I have my way and it works out, we'll eventually try to move all the welding to, maybe the new building. That way the machines are kind of separate in the current building. And that way
Yeah.
you eliminate a lot of the welding and grinding dust. And it kind of helps like with, I guess, the assembly line thinking
And
because you
that
can
that
take.
probably free up some space where you could set up a cell, like have this laser run this component, this press brake lined up with that machine or something like that if you wanted to, right?
Yeah, it would free up some room. It would allow you to almost, get your stuff ready to weld in this one building, and then it move on to the next line of your
Mm.
welders, and kind of I think it just might help with the organization. But there's a lot to do to get it there
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
happen overnight.
Oh, no, it doesn't. Um, are there any technologies or trends you're excited about in fabrication that you've seen recently?
um, yeah, I'm excited. I saw at FabTech, obviously the bevel head this being introduced on a lot of your sheet lasers.
Yeah.
That one's pretty exciting because that kind of changes, it changes the game on a lot of things that you couldn't do before that you'll be able to do now.
Hmm.
And it takes machining out of the picture, which we have a little bit of a machining center, but we're not machinists, so we sub that type
Yeah.
of work out. So the bevel head, that I think that's a exciting thing coming forward. And then of course, just the usability of robots and them getting cheaper and easier to use. That one's exciting because, compared to 10 years ago, a robot now is, you
Yeah.
you can get into it and actually afford it's affordable for the most part,
Yeah.
and they're programmable without a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
with at least with the cobots, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So I think that technology is pretty exciting to see where that's coming. And then the laser welding is starting to make its entrance.
Yeah.
Where's it
Yeah.
gonna go?
Laser welding's actually pretty good. I've played around with it a little bit. Um, I took my son and let him get hold of the laser welder, and he was welding like a pro. And
Oh
he
yeah, I
tells
mean
you know,
it takes some of the skill out of it because you pull the trigger and
yeah, yeah.
just go.
Well, I got him back home and put my TIG welder in his hand, and it was a different ball game then, right?
Yeah, yeah, it really is. So I mean, I'm curious to see where that's going to go because right now it's still pretty new. You really got to have good fitment on parts. It's like it's ideal for stainless or
Yeah,
uh,
I think it's good, but the only thing that will be the holdback on that is the specs when you're calling out welding specs. You know,
yeah. So
if you're
where I
calling
don't know where
out,
that's going to go to,
yeah,
but
uh,
it's exciting to see it make its introduction, I guess.
yeah, yeah.
And
No,
then
it does a good job. I've seen some phenomenal results at another customer's shop not so long ago. Um, so, what advice would you give to someone looking to get into fabrication or even start a fabrication shop today? You know?
um, I think. Well, for one, you gotta love it. I mean, you can't just like you. I know with being business owner, like you invest a lot of time.
Hmm.
You work long hours. I answer emails at night. Sometimes my wife gets a little bit irritated at me because we may be watching a movie and I'm over here answering an email, but it's just part of it. But you got to like really, really enjoy it and invest in it. And then also, I mean, you really need to know how to do pretty much every aspect of what you plan to do. So, like for me, it was important that I knew how to run all of our machines. So,
Hmm.
I'm confident I can draw the part, I can turn on the laser, I can cut the part, I can bend the part, and then I can weld it. It just may not be the best weld in the world, but it'll hold.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's important to know how to do that stuff because with the changing generation of workers coming in, you just it's I don't know what you're going to get moving forward. You have somebody that you trust, running a machine or running a press brake, and they're gone. It could really tie your hands if you don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't have to be a pro at it. You just need to kind of understand the basics of how the laser works and the basics of how to bend. That way, you could figure out, if it come to it, how to do it. That's what happened to us. Actually, our press brake, we had a guy that really could run it well, knew quite a bit about it, and he ended up leaving us unexpectedly, and I had to figure out how to run a press brake.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and then I enjoy it. I think it's probably one of my favorite things to do in the shop. I like to bend parts. It's pretty fascinating some of the stuff that you can bend, and
Hmm.
just the fact that you can form metal to all these interesting shapes that wouldn't seem possible, but typically there's ways to figure it out with certain dies or back bending and just going about it different ways, kind of outside the box. It makes it fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're right. It's good to know every part of the shop and every operation in the shop. I mean, that's how we did it in New Zealand. You had to learn everything. You could be on the saw, you could be in a machine shop, you could be on the plasma, you could be on a shear, you could be welding, you could be in the oil field, you could be under somebody's rotary cow shed changing out bearings, you know?
Yeah, and I think it goes. I mean, it goes a long way too, as far as like if somebody is trying to start up and then they are trying to get to the point where they're hiring somebody, to not just be the person to sit in an office telling somebody to do it. Like you can get out there and do it yourself. It goes a long ways for respect as far as
Yeah.
employees go.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, look, I do appreciate you jumping on with us today, man. So I'm going to finish up with a couple of questions. And so, favorite metal to work with is one question. What
Okay.
would?
Definitely not hard ox. I mean, uh, I prefer, and this is probably because we just work with a lot. Like on my sweet spot would probably be quarter-inch P&O. It's easy to cut. It's easy enough to bend. It's not
Mhm.
too heavy. You get much thicker. It's heavy, hard to handle. The quarter-inch is kind of like the sweet spot that we work with, and I prefer it over something too thin or too heavy.
Yeah,
And then hard ox, yeah, don't even get me started on that. That's
yeah,
it's just a
yeah.
tough material.
And this is a good one. You could probably ask your dad this question here. What's one tool in the shop that gets overlooked but you swear by?
Oh yeah, that would be a good question for him. Um, well, I mean, honestly, I guess a simple square, like your actual square to build things
Yeah,
with check squareness, it gets overlooked. But like you can't, like you've got to have it because you can't build things out of square.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
believe it or not, sometimes you'll get guys that they'll get in a rush and they'll forget. And, it may be square when it's tacked together and you go welding it. And if you don't clamp it down, it's
yeah.
going to draw one way.
It's more than a hair at a square, anyway. Put it that way. It'd be
Yeah.
uh. So are you going to Fab Tech this year? You and your dad and that?
I think I will definitely be there. I don't know if Eddie will go. Might bring somebody else to the shop, maybe, or
Yeah.
either programmer Will, which Will went with me last year.
Okay.
Might bring Adam along this year, our designer, just because I think it's good for them to see the new stuff coming out. And I mean, also it's just kind of a cool experience because it's like, I don't know, I feel like a kid in a candy shop when I'm there. There's just so many cool things to see, and the
Yeah.
technology just changes, you know, drastically. Is from one year to the next. It seems like.
Yeah. I'm actually amazed at how many people work in a shop and have never ever been to Fab Tech.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it was. We didn't go. I guess 3 years ago was probably our first time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it's a neat experience because you just don't realize the different machines that are out there. You
Yeah.
could be doing something the hard way, and then you go to FabTech, you're like, oh crap, there's a machine for this.
Yeah. 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 Man. Well,
Plus, two, it's going to be. I think it's at Chicago this year, so
yeah, and it's going to be in September, so it won't be icicle cold.
yeah, so
Right.
I'm excited. I've not been to the Chicago one. I've heard it is the
Oh,
one
you,
to
you
go
haven't
to.
been to the Chicago one?
Been to Orlando and um,
Orlando was good. That was a good. I think Orlando was better than
oh,
Atlanta.
Orlando and Atlanta were the two I've been to.
Yeah, Atlanta. I don't know. Orlando was really good. There was a lot of stuff in and around that area as well.
Oh
It
yeah,
seemed like a big facility actually.
yeah. There's
Um,
definitely a lot of walking. That's
oh
for
yeah,
sure.
yep, yep.
Oh,
Been
and
some.
the other neat thing too that you're starting to see more, or it seems like it's kind of getting into the realm of affordability is some of the 3D scanners that are
Oh
popping up.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't know where that's going to go for some of the custom fabrication and what you can do if you can scan something in. Then it could be a game changer.
No, I was just looking at one the other day that you can buy real affordable, but if you wanted to scan something to get home and then put it on your 3D printer, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's pretty wild.
that stuff is coming down in price, man. You, you can pick up a really decent 3D printer for about $1,300
Oh
and,
yeah, yeah. And
and
then
make
you can.
anything you need at the house, pretty much.
Yeah, and I didn't realize this coming out of college, my senior year. Actually, I worked for a company. called Pendergraph Machines that did some machine design. So like a lip balm line,
Yeah.
automated lip balm line. And they had a 3D printer that would print, basically use the liquid and print like flexible 3D parts out of plastic, but some kind of flexible plastic rubber material.
Mm.
And it was cool. I mean, you could make a lot of stuff with that I didn't even know was possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, the 3D printing world, that's, where's that going to start taking play into the metal side of things?
Oh, I know. I was at Mitsubishi a couple of weeks ago, and I was in where they have the wire EDMs and the sinkers and that, and they've got a 3D printer that prints the metal, and
Yeah, it's pretty
great.
wild. Yeah,
Um,
so the technology, that's exciting. It's just fascinating, where things are going and how quick they're getting there.
exactly, exactly. But man, well, hey, I appreciate you jumping on with us. And taking time out. And we look forward to. I need to come out to the shop and see everybody one day. So
Yeah, come visit. We'll get you in a Catawba shirt and maybe a hat as well if you
and
wear
a new
hats.
hat. Yeah, yeah, definitely, man, definitely. But appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thanks. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
Hey, everybody, thanks for watching. Please leave some comments below if you want to get a hold of um, Cody at EDI and Catawba Attachments. I'll have all the links in the podcast and that on YouTube and also Spotify and Apple and whatnot. But appreciate it. Have a great one, and I'll see you on the next podcast.